G'day guys, my name is CJ. This is the Vivo V23 5G and it might just have one of the most interesting feature sets for a mid-range smartphone I've ever seen. This is my hands-on with the phone. Let's take a look. So before we get into the meat and bones of this video, big shout out to Vivo for sending the phone over for me to check out. I will have to send this back later on, so this isn't going to be a full review, but more of a first hands-on. The full review will come a little bit later, so of course be subscribed so you don't miss that one. Or if you found this video at this later date already, then I'm going to put a link in the description and in a card up here. In any case, the V23 5G is a mid-range smartphone targeting the average user who appreciates having a good camera system with an emphasis on portrait and selfie shooting. I mean, we all know someone who enjoys a selfie or two with friends and family, or those who love making vlogs or videos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram Reels, or Snapchat, and we'll talk about that soon enough. Externally, the V23 has a really nice premium looking and feeling design language. On the sides, you've got a flat aluminium frame with shiny chamfered edges. I've got the Sunshine Gold version here and it feels really nice in the hand. Plus, it shimmers like a jewel depending on the light, making it look a bit more expensive than it actually is. Then on the front, you've got a flat 6.44 inch 90Hz 1080p OLED display with a notch housing the dual selfie camera system. Plus, you've got an in-display fingerprint sensor on the bottom, which on first use so far is pretty responsive. On the back, you've got probably one of my favorite looking and feeling backs I've ever seen on a phone. According to Vivo, it's called their Fluorite AG technology, and that gives it a really unique feel and texture. It's not quite rough like sandstone, but it's definitely got more of a feel and grit to it than simply frosted glass. It's a bit more grippier, and it has a soft touch. It's really hard to convey through a video how it feels, but I'm really enjoying how it feels so far. On top of that, the surface exhibits a really unique and special color changing feature I've never seen in a phone before, where the rear actually changes color depending on the angle in which light hits it. I mean, as you can see, as I shift it back and forth, the material gradually changes its color. Now, Vivo's explanation in how it works is that when the phone is exposed to UV light, it causes a chemical change in its molecular structure, which then causes color shift, where the shade of color is dependent on the wavelength of light hitting it. Now that all sounds like pretty fancy physics and chemistry mumbo jumbo to me, but all I care about is how it looks. And just look at it, I think it looks so cool. Then in the top left corner, you've got the camera module housing a triple lens system, which again we'll talk about pretty soon. But like I said, otherwise it's a pretty cool back of a phone. Now, at the heart of the V23, you've got a MediaTek Dimensity 920 chip with an octa-core processor, and it goes up to 12 gigs of RAM, like in the model I've got with 256 gigs of storage. There's also a smaller 128 gig model with 8 gigs of RAM, but both of these models have an ingenious way to bump up performance, and it should hold you in good stead as you multitask and push the phone to its limits. This is a feature that Vivo calls Extended RAM 2.0, funny sort of name, but it basically allows 4 gigs of internal storage to be used as RAM. So in theory, pushes up the maximum usable RAM up to 16 or 12 gigs depending on your model. So that's pretty cool, and in my experience actually works quite well. I haven't had any issues with multitasking so far. Now the V23 5G runs atop of Android 12 with Vivo's own custom flavor called FunTouch OS, which is a reasonably clean UI and has been pretty snappy so far. Then when you combine that with a 90Hz screen, there's really nothing mid-range about the user experience, which so far with my hands-on has been really smooth. Now the MediaTek chip also allows 5G in the right markets where the phone is sold officially, so that's another tick for future-proofing. Then flowing on from that, there's a 4200 mAh battery with a 44-watt flash charger, and that works as fast as you'd expect. Combined with a relatively modest 1080p screen, it's looking like a pretty decent combination for longevity, at least on paper. And so far in my early use, I'm getting around 5 hours of screen on time, which is pretty decent, but we'll have to see if it gets better or worse with longer use. And now all of this is to power the main event on the phone, which are the cameras. Like I said, on the rear, you've got a triple camera system with a 64 megapixel main shooter with an f1.8 aperture. You've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide at f2.2, and you've got a 2 megapixel macro shooter for better or worse. Now with my initial testing so far, the main camera, which aside from the main selfie camera, is probably the one you'll use most of the time, and it performs admirably. In good lighting, it does really well to shoot with great color rendition and detail. The ultra wide is also a useful addition, though it does lack autofocus and you do need pretty good lighting for it to look good. Samples taken so far, in general, have been just about okay to good. Even on initial testing, you can definitely see a difference in quality between the main and the ultra wide. And then on top of this, you've got the macro lens, which as you'd expect requires a good amount of light for it to work well. I mean, it'll work in a pinch, though I often just stick to digitally zooming in with the main lens anyway. But speaking of main lenses, the star of the show in the V23 5G really is in its selfie camera system. It's a dual system with a whopping 50 megapixel main lens and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. Even from my initial testing, the main selfie shooter has returned really great photos with awesome detail and color, and you can tell this is where they focused on. The field of view is just about wide enough for group shots, and it has autofocus, something I can't believe isn't a standard feature for all flagships in 2022, let alone a little mid-ranger like this. I have honestly no complaints with the photos it takes, and it's an absolute delight to use. The ultra lens is again a useful addition. It provides a 105-degree field of view and allows you to capture bigger groups, plus even a bit of the landscape if that's what you're looking for. But so far, it doesn't quite measure up to the main lens. But as far as selfie quality go, I've seen a lot worse. Now, one of the main areas selfie cameras usually struggle in is actually in low light. And with that, one massive party piece with the V23 selfie camera is with its stealthily hidden LED lights on the front. And this is why the V23 is a selfie lover's dream. So at the top, flanking the top earpiece, are two very bright two-tone LED flashes. And in a pinch, they make a huge difference in really low light, allowing you to get the perfect selfie in all conditions. I also love that you can manually control the temperature of the lights depending on the scene. Nighttime selfies and selfies in general have never looked so clear. Then on top of all of that, you still get night mode for both the front and rear cameras, which seem to do the job, and it also shoots video up to 4K 30 frames per second for both front and rear systems. Now the rear lens does a decent job, and the ultra stable mode in 1080p resolution actually works pretty well too. But what did surprise me though was the selfie video quality. And I'll keep banging on about it here. It's definitely the main attraction. Vloggers are gonna love the quality that you get out of the main selfie lens. But that's pretty much it so far for my first hands-on with the Vivo V23 5G. It's a device that really packs in a premium punch, all baked in a mid-range package. It's aimed at the selfie lovers out there and looks to be a pretty interesting option that won't break the bank. Depending on your market, the suggested price for the V23 is around $370 US or 500 Australian dollars, which is very competitively priced, especially in a world where smartphones can cost almost $2,000. I'll include links in the description if you wanted to check it out, but be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the full review, which will drop a little bit later. As always guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, ding the bell icon so you don't miss out, and stay safe guys. Take care out there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.